She always offers help, always, even when you don't ask. Always has time to solve your problems, and then she collects, not with words, with looks, with sighs, with that heavy feeling that you owe something. Do you know someone like this? Because I have news, you're not dealing with kindness. You're dealing with one of the most sophisticated forms of control that exist. In the next 10 minutes, you'll discover how Machiavelli and Robert Greene exposed the social debt trap and how to definitively free yourself from these invisible prisons of false kindness. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have a radar for your problems? They show up at the exact moment you're in trouble. They offer help before you even ask. They solve everything with a smile. And then, something changes. The dynamic reverses. Suddenly you can't say no to this person anymore. When they ask for something, you feel a weight in your stomach. A silent obligation, as if you owed something you can never fully repay. This isn't coincidence, it's strategy. Machiavelli noticed this dynamic 500 years ago. In chapter 8 of The Prince, he revealed a truth few have the courage to face. Benefits don't create allies. They create subjects. Those who receive favors end up in an inferior position. Those who offer them gain power over the recipient. But Machiavelli was only scratching the surface. Robert Greene, in the 48 Laws of Power, dissected this mechanism with surgical precision. Law 27, create a cult, play on people's need, reveals how modern manipulators operate. They don't wait for you to ask for help. They create the need. They identify your vulnerabilities. They appear as saviors, and they turn you into an emotional dependent without you realizing it. The poisoned favor works like this. The person offers something you didn't ask for, but that solves a real problem of yours. You accept, grateful. But this favor comes with invisible compound interest. Each kindness increases your emotional debt. Each help tightens the collar more. The difference between genuine help and strategic favor lies in the intention behind the gesture. Real help doesn't expect return, doesn't create obligation, doesn't come with an emotional timer. The poisoned favor always has a hidden price, always creates a debt to pay. When someone solves your problems without you asking, ask yourself, why is this person so interested in my life? What do they gain by being so helpful? Because nobody invests energy for free in strangers. Every investment expects return. The first sign of a poisoned favor is insistence. The person doesn't accept your refusal. Forces the help, argues that it's nothing really or that it costs nothing, but it costs a lot. You're about to discover the 3 most powerful tactics that Greene identified in Masters of Kind Manipulation. Techniques so subtle you might be a victim of them right now. Imagine a coworker comes to you tomorrow with coffee. You didn't ask, didn't want it, but he insists, "Come on, I got one for myself and thought of you." You accept out of politeness. 2 weeks later, he needs you to cover a presentation for him. How do you feel saying no? Exactly. That $2 coffee just cost you your Friday night. Welcome to the mental laboratory of forced reciprocity. Our brain has an evolutionary bug that manipulators exploit masterfully. When someone does something for us, a primitive alarm goes off. You owe something. Pay this debt or be expelled from the tribe. This programming kept us alive for thousands of years. Today it keeps us trapped. Robert Greene dedicates an entire chapter of The Art of Seduction to explain how seducers use small favors to create emotional dependence. They don't seduce with grand gestures. They use strategic crumbs, a coffee here, a help there, small kindnesses that accumulate astronomical emotional interest. Machiavelli was even more direct in Discourses on the First Decade of Titus Livy. He observed that free men become voluntary slaves when they accept benefits from those with ulterior motives. Freedom dies little by little, favor by favor. What makes this diabolical is that the guilt feeling is real. When you receive something, your nervous system registers a debt. It doesn't matter if you asked or not. It doesn't matter if you wanted it or not. The emotional debt is recorded in your mind as an open account. Manipulators know this. They make small investments in you to reap large returns later, like an emotional loan shark who lends coins to collect gold bars. The experiment you just lived mentally happens millions of times a day. People who are too kind, unsolicited kindnesses, favors that arrive uninvited, and you, feeling obligated to return something you never asked for. The truth is this: you owe nothing to those who help you without request. Nothing. Zero. Your gratitude is already sufficient payment. Any charge beyond that is manipulation. But some specific profiles have turned this dynamic into an art. Greene and Machiavelli identified 3 archetypes of manipulators who use kindness as a weapon of control. and you need to know them before it's too late. There's a secret few know about manipulators. They follow predictable patterns. Greene documented this in The 33 Strategies of War when talking about indirect emotional warfare. Machiavelli had already observed this in The False Benefactors of The Prince. Both identified that those who use kindness as a weapon have specific profiles. There are 3 main archetypes, and you've already met at least one of them. The first is the savior. This profile has an obsession, solving problems you didn't even know you had, shows up with solutions to imaginary difficulties, creates urgencies where none exist. If you mention any discomfort, they already have the ready answer. The savior operates through artificial anticipation. They study you, identify weak points, and offer help before the problem even arises. When you finally need something, they're already there. Coincidence? Never. It's investigation and calculated timing. Machiavelli warned about these false benefactors in chapter 15 of The Prince. Those who solve problems you didn't ask them to solve want something in return, always. The second archetype is the emotional creditor. This person has frightening mental accounting. They remember every favor, every kindness, every moment they were there for you, and they collect frequently. The creditor never forgets an emotional investment. Their favorite phrases are, "After everything I did for you, remember when I helped you with that, and I was always there for you." Greene calls this emotional leverage, using the past to control the present. The third is the indispensable, the most dangerous of all. This profile infiltrates your life until you can no longer function without them, takes on responsibilities you didn't delegate, solves things you didn't even know needed solving. The indispensable creates structural dependence. They become so present that their absence becomes catastrophe. When you finally realize the game, it's too late. They're no longer a person in your life, they're a necessity. Have you already identified any of these profiles around you? Because now comes the most important part, how to defend yourself without destroying legitimate relationships. Which of these 3 archetypes have you encountered in your life? Comment just the name savior, creditor, or indispensable. I want to see how many of you have been through this. Stop being hostage to toxic kindness. Now, Robert Greene was categorical in Law 40 of the 48 Laws of Power. Despise free offers. Everything that's free costs too much. Machiavelli complemented this wisdom by showing how to neutralize dangerous benefits without creating enemies. Here's your social freedom protocol. First defense, the polite refusal. When someone offers unsolicited help, use this phrase, "I appreciate the intention, but I prefer to handle this myself." No explanations, no justifications. Explaining is negotiating, and negotiation opens gaps for insistence. Before you accepted out of politeness and got into debt. Now you refuse for self-preservation and maintain your freedom. Second defense, immediate reciprocation. If you were caught off guard and accepted a favor, settle the debt right away. Greene teaches, never let emotional debts accumulate interest. If someone paid for your coffee, pay for theirs. If they helped with something, reciprocate immediately with something equivalent. Before you stayed in debt. Now you settle immediately and end the cycle. Third defense, the surgical cut. For relationships already contaminated by kind manipulation, Machiavelli suggests gradual distancing. Don't confront, don't explain, simply become unavailable. Decline invitations. Take time to respond to messages. Be politely inaccessible. The manipulator will realize the investment isn't paying off and migrate to other victims. Emotional predators don't waste time with difficult prey. Fourth defense, preventive shielding. For new relationships, establish independence from the start. Pay your own bills. Solve your own problems. Be grateful but never dependent. Machiavelli knew those who constantly accept favors become courtiers. Those who strategically offer favors become princes. The difference between your old personality and the new one is this. Before you were too grateful, now you're too free. Before you owed favors, now you owe nothing to anyone you didn't consciously choose. Real kindness doesn't create prisons, it creates connections. If you're feeling trapped by someone kind, it's not kindness, it's manipulation. Your emotional freedom is worth more than any favor. Protect it. Of all these strategies, which one do you most need to apply in your life? Comment one word. Refuse, settle, cut, or shield. Now you've seen how to break the invisible chains of false kindness. Click the video on screen to discover the most brutal tactics Machiavelli taught about never being manipulated by anyone again. Click the video on screen now.